Hey everybody, in this Relief Maker video, we're going to talk about how to move, translate, rotate, and position your 3D models so that you have the perfect relief. The first thing that we'll talk about is the notion that you can go to Help, Controls, and the mouse interaction section is going to be your cheat sheet on all of the things that we talk about today in case you forget. That being said, let's first talk about the most common thing you might do, which is rotating a model. When we take the mouse, we're going to hover it over the model that we want to rotate. In this scene, we have two models, and we're just going to hold down the left mouse button and we're going to drag. We can hover over the other 3D model, we can rotate it and drag. And we notice that this is the action that happens when we hover over a model. If we hover over blank space, we're going to rotate the entire scene. In other words, we're kind of rotating where the camera is instead of a particular model. So knowing this and the fact that this applies to everything, zooming, rotating, panning, just keep that in mind. You may sometimes accidentally, click and move the scene and then you're all messed up. Remember, you can press Control Z to get back to where you were. Now that we have rotating down, we're going to look at panning. Panning is going to be holding down the middle mouse button and moving it around. So we can do that on different models. Likewise, blank space, we can pan the whole scene. Now we're going to talk about zooming. We're going to hover over a model. We're going to use the scroll wheel. And for this, you actually need to click to select it. And then likewise, in empty space, I can zoom the entire scene. Now, some of these things may not be precise enough for you. Or you may want a specific rotation amount. So to get to where we can actually see this specific rotation amount in a way that makes sense, we might want to reset this stuff. So we're going to click on the model and we'll click down here at the reset button. That's going to bring it back to where it was. And we'll do that for the Triceratops as well. And this is how they would have come in normally. So let's move this guy over just so we can see. And now we may want this Triceratops to be facing directly ahead of us. And if we try to do that manually, we can probably get there. It's going to take a lot of time. Maybe it's not perfect. Maybe you need it to be perfect. So I'll Control Z to go back. I'm going to select this model and I'm going to go to the rotation button. And here we can type in a number if we want, but most often you'll want 90. And then we can play with the various buttons here. So this one goes around the x-axis. This is the y-axis, which is what we want. And then this is the z-axis. So you can enter in a number here and go left or right for any of these that you might need, but that's the way that you do precise rotation. And likewise for precise scaling, or at least by a percentage, you can use the scale button here instead of the middle mouse wheel. So the last thing that we're going to talk about is translating things in the Z direction. That's towards the camera or away from the camera. And why might you want to do that? Well, if you only have one model in your scene, totally unimportant. But the second you're trying to position things relative to each other, you may find some real utility out of this. So in this case, maybe we want the Triceratops to be in front of the dragon for our relief. We like the dragon, he's cool, but he's not the main focal point. So we're going to left click, hold down Alt on our keyboard, and we're going to drag the Triceratops around. And you can see that we're pulling him forward. Now to frame the scene properly, we might need to zoom back out a little bit. We'll click in free space to unselect this guy. And we'll zoom out. And we can do a little rotation. And we can make this guy maybe a little bit bigger, maybe push him back a little bit further. And you can see through using these tools together, you can get the exact scene that you might want. And then when we make a relief, it is perfect. We'll go back to our relief camera. And just keep in mind that, again, if you mess up the rotation, you want to get back to import status. This is the reset button here, reset button here. That's all there is to it for zooming, panning, rotating, and translating in the Z. We've learned how to do that with both the mouse for a particular model and also for the scene as a whole. And we've learned how to do it more precisely with some of the tools for rotation and zooming.